It is understandable to feel frustrated or concerned when encountering professionals whose requests seem unreasonable or whose decisions appear questionable. It's important to remember that not all individuals within a profession adhere to the same standards or possess the same level of competence. Experiencing baffling requests or witnessing what seems like frightening decisions can indeed be unsettling. However, it's crucial to avoid generalizations and recognize that variations exist within any field. To navigate such situations effectively, firstly, carefully document the specific instances that raise concern. This documentation should include details such as dates, times, individuals involved, and a clear description of the requests or decisions in question. Having a record of these instances will be helpful if you decide to escalate the issue or seek a second opinion. Secondly, attempt to understand the rationale behind the questionable requests or decisions. Sometimes there may be underlying factors or constraints that are not immediately apparent. Engaging in a calm and respectful dialogue with the professional involved can provide valuable insights and potentially alleviate your concerns. Ask clarifying questions and express your reservations in a non-confrontational manner. Thirdly, if you remain unconvinced or concerned after seeking clarification, consider seeking a second opinion from another qualified professional in the same field. A fresh perspective can help you assess the situation more objectively and determine whether the initial requests or decisions were indeed appropriate. When seeking a second opinion, provide the new professional with all relevant information, including your documentation of the instances that raise concern and any explanations offered by the original professional. Fourthly, if the questionable practices involve potential violations of ethical codes, industry standards, or legal regulations, consider reporting your concerns to the appropriate regulatory bodies or professional organizations. These entities typically have mechanisms in place to investigate complaints and take disciplinary action against individuals who engage in misconduct. Fifthly, remember that you have the right to advocate for your own interests and the interests of others who may be affected by the questionable practices. Don't hesitate to voice your concerns and demand accountability from professionals who fail to meet acceptable standards of conduct. This may involve engaging in negotiations, seeking mediation, or pursuing legal remedies if necessary. Sixthly, maintain a professional and respectful demeanor throughout the process. Even when expressing concerns or raising objections, it's important to remain calm, courteous, and objective. Avoid personal attacks or inflammatory language, as this can undermine your credibility and make it more difficult to achieve a positive outcome. Seventhly, be aware of your own limitations and seek professional advice when needed. If you're unsure about the appropriate course of action or the legal implications of the situation, consult with an attorney or other qualified expert. They can provide guidance and support to help you navigate the complexities of the situation. Eighthly, recognize that not all disagreements or differences of opinion necessarily indicate unethical or incompetent behavior. Sometimes professionals may simply have different approaches or priorities. It's important to distinguish between genuine concerns about questionable practices and mere disagreements about style or strategy. Ninthly, learn from your experiences and use them to inform your future interactions with professionals. By understanding the potential pitfalls and challenges, you can be better prepared to identify and address questionable practices in the future. Tenthly, support initiatives and organizations that promote ethical conduct, professional development, and accountability within various professions. By contributing to these efforts, you can help create a culture of excellence and integrity that benefits everyone. Remember that you are not alone in your concerns. Many individuals have encountered similar situations and successfully navigated them by following these steps. By remaining informed, proactive, and persistent, you can help ensure that professionals adhere to the highest standards of conduct and that your interests are protected. If you're dealing with electrical work and suspect something is amiss, several factors could be at play. Firstly, let's consider the voltage levels. In residential settings, you typically encounter 120 volts and 240 volts. If a professional is suggesting modifications that seem to deviate significantly from these standard voltages without a clear and justifiable explanation, it's wise to be cautious. For instance, if they propose running a 277-volt circuit to power a standard lighting fixture designed for 120 volts, that would be a red flag. Secondly, wiring gauges are crucial for safety. The American wire gauge, or AUG, dictates the current carrying capacity of wires. Using a wire gauge that is too small for the intended load can lead to overheating and potentially fires. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides tables such as Table 310.15b16 that specify the allowable ampacities of different wire gauges based on their insulation type and installation conditions. If an electrician suggests using 14-gauge wire for a 20-amp circuit, that would be a violation of the NEC and a serious safety hazard. Thirdly, grounding is paramount. A proper grounding system provides a path for fault current to return to the source, tripping a circuit breaker or fuse and preventing electrical shock. Grounding electrodes such as ground rods or metal water pipes must be installed correctly and connected to the electrical system. If you observe that grounding connections are loose, corroded, or missing, it's a cause for concern. Fourthly, circuit breaker selection is critical. Circuit breakers are designed to protect circuits from overcurrents. They must be properly sized to match the ampacity of the circuit they are protecting. Using a circuit breaker that is too large can allow excessive current to flow, potentially damaging equipment and causing fires. The NEC requires that circuit breakers be rated for the continuous load they are expected to carry, plus an additional margin for safety. For example, a 15-amp circuit should be protected by a 15-amp circuit breaker. Fifthly, conduit and cable type should be appropriate for the environment. The NEC specifies different types of conduit and cable for various applications, such as wet locations, underground installations, and hazardous environments. Using the wrong type of conduit or cable can lead to premature failure, electrical shock, or fire. For example, using non-metallic sheath cable, or NM cable, in a wet location is a violation of the NEC and a safety hazard. Sixthly, electrical boxes must be properly sized and installed. Electrical boxes provide a safe enclosure for wiring connections. They must be sized to accommodate the number of wires and devices they contain. Overcrowding an electrical box can lead to overheating and potential fire hazards. The NEC provides guidelines for calculating the minimum size of electrical boxes based on the number and size of conductors and devices. Seventhly, wiring methods must comply with the NEC. The NEC specifies various wiring methods such as conduit wiring, cable wiring, and surface raceway wiring. Each wiring method has its own set of requirements for installation and support. Improper wiring methods can lead to electrical shock, fire, or equipment damage. For example, running electrical wires through holes in metal studs without proper protection is a violation of the NEC and a safety hazard. Eighthly, GFCI protection is essential in wet locations. Ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are devices that detect ground faults and quickly interrupt the circuit, preventing electrical shock. The NEC requires GFCI protection in bathrooms, kitchens, outdoor areas, and other wet locations. Failing to provide GFCI protection in these areas can expose people to the risk of electrical shock. Ninthly, arc fault circuit interrupters, or SIs, are important for fire prevention. SIs are devices that detect arc faults, which are dangerous electrical discharges that can cause fires. The NEC requires FSI protection in bedrooms and other living areas. Failing to provide FSI protection in these areas can increase the risk of fire. Tenthly, labeling and documentation are necessary for safety and maintenance. All electrical panels and circuits should be clearly labeled to indicate their function and voltage. Wiring diagrams and other documentation should be kept on file for future reference. Proper labeling and documentation can help prevent mistakes and make it easier to troubleshoot electrical problems. If you have concerns about the practices of an electrical professional, don't hesitate to seek a second opinion from another qualified electrician. A thorough inspection and evaluation of the electrical system can help identify any potential problems and ensure that the work is done safely and in compliance with the NEC.